Greetings and salutations, Redeemers, and welcome to Recipe Redemption. I'm Mike Uyak. It's a hot one today. I'm going to try to make this quick so I can turn the AC back on. But for the moment, I thought that being in the middle of summer, it might be nice to have a nice, refreshing, cold, refrigerated dessert. And I made this instead. This is Pumpkin Orange Melange. Comes to us via Weight Watchers International. This recipe card was published in 1974. And it's fairly simple. There is no cooking involved in this, which is partially why it was so popular, but also, appropriate for the weather. Don't have to turn on an oven and heat up half the house. So what is it? Well, there are orange slices that have been cut into small pieces on the bottom of this. On top of that, canned pumpkin puree that you mix with pumpkin spice, some artificial sweetener, this is Weight Watchers, mind you, a teaspoon of brandy extract. Stir that together, dump that on top of the orange chunks, refrigerate for at least 2 hours, because you want your pumpkin puree nice and cold, just the way that I like it. And then top with their Harvest whipped topping, which is non-fat dry milk, an equal amount of water, ice water, artificial sweetener, again, Weight Watchers, 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black walnut extract, which I thought was interesting. You mix out, throw all that into a mixing bowl and beat on high until you get stiff peaks, and then plop some on top of your pumpkin orange melange and enjoy. Only problem with that, I did exactly that. I used exactly the measurements that they gave me, and it never, well, that ain't coming to stiff peaks. It never, I beat it for like 20 minutes and it never came together. It's kind of tasty. Ooh, powdered milk. Never came together, so this is just some whipped cream just to garnish it. So, what does cold pumpkin puree and oranges taste like together? About to find out. In a word, no. Pumpkin puree, it's a little too baby foodish for me. It's either going into a pumpkin pie, you mix it with dairy and egg, and it turns into a pumpkin flavored custard. I've used it to sort of encourage my cats to eat their wet food. It's pretty much it. What I use pumpkin puree for. I typically, because Chris doesn't actually like pumpkin pie, when we do have pumpkin, I'll usually actually get a sugar pumpkin and either peel it, dice it, and roast it that way, or roast it, sort of scrape out the middle and then use the, keep it kind of chunky. I won't actually sort of mash that up. I'll keep it kind of chunky and use that in something like a pumpkin crumble or something like that. Just eating, especially canned pumpkin puree at refrigerator temperature with some orange chunks in it. Mm. Nope, not doing that anymore. I cannot recommend that. The the tanginess of the oranges kind of clashes with the sort of earthiness of the pumpkin spice. Um, the texture does absolutely nothing for me. Cannot recommend. Um, but I think if you want to make a chilled pumpkin dessert that's not pumpkin pie, um, I think there's a fairly simple way of doing it.
So since I'm recording this video in July, there are no sugar pumpkins available. So I'm using some leftover roasted butternut squash that I've diced up here. It'll have to do. Toss some of that pumpkin spice and some sugar in there. Pumpkin spice is cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, ginger, and clove. Um, just toss those together to coat and I guess kind of macerate, not really, but just so you have a nice pumpkin spice flavor. And that's, really 75% of the pumpkin pie flavor is the spice. Set that aside, and in my mixing mug, this is kind of how I like to whip cream. It tends to splash less than an big open bowl. I have some heavy cream here. Gonna whip that up, and once it reaches soft peak stage, kind of like this, is when I add some sugar, probably about a quarter cup there, should be enough. Beat that until that's incorporated, and then what I'm making is sort of a syllabub. This is orange juice and the zest of the orange that I'm going to be adding to my whipped cream, and I should have put something down to secure that mug. But what syllabub is a 17th century dessert. It's essentially whipping cream that you've curdled with an acid. Used to be like white wine, but also things like citrus juice, anything acidic will cause it to curdle and can cause it to actually separate. You'll actually have cream on top and the milk on the bottom, but whipped. And this will, in this case, kind of loosen it rather than actually cause it to separate. So it's still whipped cream, but I just take it to stiff peaks, just like any other whipped cream, but it's flavored. Oh, and there was a bit of Grand Marnier in there as well. Now, pull that aside, and we're going to call this a trifle dish. It's a large martini glass, but we're going to call it a trifle dish. And I'm making a parfait. So we're just going to alternate layers of our whipped cream slash syllabub here with some crushed ginger snaps. I wanted to give this a little bit more texture and just continue layering things in. Here is some of the butternut squash. It's going to give the pumpkin spice flavoring to this. A little bit more ginger snap, a little bit more of the syllabub. Just continue alternating these layers to make kind of an interesting dessert. Oh, and let's not forget those orange chunks that I had from earlier. That is going to add a nice sweet citrus punch to it. And just keep layering this, alternating up to the top until it's at a pleasing level.
And here we have the roasted pumpkin. Yeah, I know, butternut squash, but roasted pumpkin, orange and ginger snap parfait. Because everybody loves parfait. You never hear someone say, "Would you like some parfait?" No, thanks, I don't like it. The syllabub should add a bit of flavor. The crumbled ginger snaps should definitely add a little texture, as well as the roasted butternut squash should have a little bit more texture than just the pumpkin puree. It's going to have a little more tooth to it. The syllabub, since it has orange flavor in it, is certainly complementing the orange. And that creaminess is kind of taming down the tanginess of the orange a bit. Let me see if I actually got any of the butternut here. Here we go. Mm-hmm. The butternut with the pumpkin spice. It's quite sweet, obviously, with the sugar. But in addition to, the natural sweetness of the butternut itself, the orange, the syllabub, it all combines together. It actually melds quite well. Mm. This is really delicious. I was just messing around with this, but I would serve this. Ain't nothing wrong with this. This is delicious. I'm actually going to finish this. Clean Plate Club. So, what do you think? Obviously, I cannot recommend the Pumpkin Orange Melange. That is a recipe that definitely needs to just go into the dustbin of history. However, the pumpkin, if you actually have a pumpkin orange parfait, I can definitely recommend. In fact, I can't put it down. I'm actually kind of impressed with myself. So I look forward this fall to actually trying this recipe again with actual pumpkin and see how that changes things. I think the difference will be subtle. As I mentioned, the differences between pumpkin and butternut squash are by degrees, really. They're both gourds. They're both slightly sweet, slightly vegetal. I think the substitution is just fine. So, let me know what you think. And if there are any other recipes you want me to redeem, let me know in the comments below. And as always, like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. So until next time, I'm Mike Uyak, and I'd like to thank you for watching Recipe Redemption. Bye now. Or Parfait.